Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Discovering Dawson's Creek on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, subscribe and ding your notification bell on this channel before we get started today, because we are into season 3 of Dawson's Creek now. Jeannine, we are thundering on. This is the
Yes.
halfway point. Well, we're not quite at the halfway point of the whole thing yet, are we? I suppose that comes at the end of season 3,
Yes.
as it's a 6-season show. But it's exciting to be this far into the show, even, by my account. I feel like
Yeah.
we're just at home in it now. We're in. There's no turning back. There was never any turning back anyway. But there's
No.
really no turning back. There's no emotional turning back now.
Yes.
You're invested. You're with
Yeah.
it.
Care
You
about these
have to.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to feel what you have to feel now, because you're not going to stop watching it, even if it is just for discovering Dawson's Creek. But it's not just because of that. It's also because I actually want to watch Dawson's Creek. You obviously need no excuse to watch Dawson's Creek
No.
at all,
No.
as it is your deepest, darkest obsession. Clearly. There's no perhaps about it. But I was thrown off a little bit at the beginning of this season, Jeannine. I think there's odd things going on. And I think I didn't have this is our fault. This is discovering Dawson's Creek's fault more than it is the actual show Dawson's Creek's fault. I did not have enough of a come down after the end of season 2 before getting into season 3, and how season 3 treats the end of season 2, I suppose. Felt very, very odd to me. Jarring to me is a good word, given how serious the end of season 2 was. I was maybe expecting a little more kind of memory of it to still stay in characters' minds.
Yeah.
As we're technically only one episode later.
Yes. Because, I think on my first time watch, obviously I had that break of, season break to have the same amount of time to sit with what happened like our characters did. So when it came back and there was this kind of forgiveness vibe already kind of in effect, it didn't feel jarring. It felt like, okay, I could see that this character has 2-3 months to sit on this, to think about it, to reflect on it, to think back of this person that she loved as a boyfriend, who loved as a best friend, who's like her pseudo family, and not wanting to lose that, maybe understanding why he did what he did, and come back to the situation with fresh eyes, and not kind of that knee-jerk reaction that she had when what happened. So I was able to kind of process that in this way, but you literally are just 2 weeks off from seeing this really hard moment between these two characters, and kind of probably went into this expecting them to be not talking for probably the whole season or something. So
I literally was expecting them not talking for the whole season. Maybe as far as story structure goes, Dawson and Joey would end up being somewhat genial with each other by the end of the season. But I want, and I've said this in the past with the show, I want things to last a while. I want certain emotional states to last a while. And in an ultimately 22 episode season, it has room for things to last a while if it wants.
Yes.
And it just never seems to want to allow things to last more than 4 episodes.
Yes.
And
Well,
it's odd, I think.
I did allude to you that these kinds of 2 early episodes are in service of setting something up. I didn't tell you what it was, but
Yes,
that's
you
kind of
did.
I wanted to give you that context so you wouldn't feel like the show maybe didn't have a plan or didn't know what it was doing or it was abandoning ideas and storylines that they seemed pretty committed to at the end of the 2nd season. So I did wanna make you aware that, like, this is all in service of
Yeah.
kind of, a particular plan they have for season 3, which is a plan that I love dearly.
Okay. Well,
So, yeah.
I must admit, I don't necessarily think it's any sort of abandonment because
Okay.
I've seen it. I've seen the show do this already. I've seen the
Yes.
show do this before. It introduces something that feels so significant, and then 2 episodes later, you're either in the complete opposite state again, or you don't talk about it. And it's not that things aren't followed through. I think things are followed through. I think
Yeah.
storylines are dealt with in a competent arc. Sometimes I just think certain emotional states go back and forth too quickly,
Okay. I get
and
that.
something will happen. Somebody will do. Usually, Dawson will do something horrible, only for the next episode to be back on a good train again,
Yes.
and then for
Yeah.
3 episodes later to have done something horrible again.
Yeah, it
It's
feels
as though
very much.
sometimes they don't remember what they've actually done.
Or it's feeling like, on obviously this isn't just another subsequent rewatch for me. It feels like they're like, okay, we're making our lead character kind of unlikable. We need to make him likable again.
Yeah,
It always feels
yeah.
like this realization that they make
You
Dawson
don't need
really
that.
annoying or unrelatable or frustrating, so they have to rein it in and do something to bring us back to liking him again. So they'll have these little moments where he's acknowledging all of the things that us viewers are annoyed with about him. And then when we
Yeah,
have him address it and be aware of it and try to course correct them, we're like, okay, at least Dawson's being self-aware now. We like that. So it seems like
exactly.
every few episodes, that's what happens. They kind of put Dawson in a situation where he's being kind of this privileged, unself-aware ass. And then when they realize, oh yeah, it's his creek, we better rein this in and make him likable, and then they have to kind of switch it up.
But I guess I just think, how often can they do that? Because, okay, you've got there in Dawson a, I guess, balanced character between whiny, hateable, annoying, and actually might be aware of himself, slowly maturing person. But they
Yes.
never come at the same time. There's
No,
always this one comes right the way up, and then this one comes right the way
yeah,
up, and
that's
then it's
why
just
I
bang,
say
bang, bang,
yes,
bang, bang.
and that's why
It's
I say it
never at
feels
the
like.
same level.
Yes, and that's why I feel like it's them kind of writing to something and then realizing or getting maybe an audience response that, "Oh, we're making our lead character unlikable. We have to course correct." So it
Then
feels
have more
like that.
nuance in him.
Yes, but then you also kind of have to take into account, okay, this is just the soapy teen melodrama
Of
of the
course it
era
is.
of what the show is. So we're gonna throw that kind of in the mix as well. So yeah, because I do remember I the other day I did send you like this thing from a Dawson's Creek page where they ranked all the men of Dawson's Creek,
Yeah.
and out of the 7 men that they had on this list, Dawson was dead last. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the show kind of will do these things, have Dawson do these things that people don't like. They maybe get a reaction and then decide, okay, we need to course correct and make him likable again. So
But you don't it's just, and I've just said it, but you don't need to, throughout a season of television, make a character dislikable and then likable, and
yes,
then
it's
dislikable
very
and then likable, and
inconsistent.
then do
Yeah.
that 3 times each throughout the course of a season. You just have them be both at the same time.
Yes. Well, I
You
will
can
say
do that.
I'm interested to talk to you about, the thing that Dawson does that could be perceived as a kind of dickish thing, but um do you think he did the right thing with the choice that he makes in this first episode? So,
Well, let's get into it then. Let's
yes.
let's get properly into it. It's about time. Season 3, episode 1. Like a Virgin is its
Yes.
title, because Dawson might as well be singing Madonna. Get the binder out, Jeannine. Tell us what we
Yes.
have here.
So, Like a Virgin, episode 301. Risky business.
Oh, yes.
Dawson returns from spending the summer in Philadelphia with his mother, and on his way home meets a beautiful young woman who brings trouble to his otherwise ho-hum life. Meanwhile, Joey, yeah, it does say ho-hum.
A whole
Um,
home life.
yes. Meanwhile, Joey, who has frozen Dawson out all summer, realizes she is still reeling from their unexpected breakup when she sees him again, but may have found an unexpected new friend for their junior year. Jen gets more than she bargained for when she takes on the fascist head cheerleader. Mitch accepts a new position as Cape Side High's varsity football coach, and although Pacey tries to be brave, he has had a lonely summer without Andy.
Yes. See, it's all very. A lot of things happen to everybody, I
Yes.
think, in this first episode. And because it's a season opener, a reintroduction, as it were, you've had the summer off. I'm sat there thinking, well, I didn't want the summer off. I wanted to see the summer,
Yeah.
because from a Joey standpoint, I don't like going into this season. Joey seeing Dawson again. Yes, okay, we understand it's for the first time in what, two and a
Yes,
half
and they do
months,
play
whatever
to
it may
that
be.
in the early bits of this episode.
They do, but I want to see that time that we're told has just been had. I want to see
Okay.
that. I
Okay.
want to see her being furious with him for an extended period of time, because that's what it should be. I don't want to
Yes.
be told that's what's happened. I
Yeah.
understand that's what's going to happen after the end of season 2, because obviously that was what was going to happen. But I want to see the mentality of going through all that. I feel like it's a disservice to Joey to have the opening of season 3 be her seeing him again and going, "Oh, he wasn't that bad in the end, really,
Yes, I
was he?"
really do
Yes,
miss
yes,
him.
he was.
Yes, I do have feelings for him in this, and yeah, so that's kind of what I was curious about, the plot point that we get into with
I like
Joey.
Joey. I've always been team Joey.
Yes, and so they kind of, reduce her a little bit, but ultimately, um, yeah, like, she has already kind of decided that, like, she misses him, she maybe wants him back, or at least wants their friendship back. And so, yeah, my question for you is, how did you feel about her ultimately near the end of this episode decides to, initiate sex with Dawson, and he rejects her? How do
Yes.
do you see that as a kind of dickish move, or do you think Dawson made the right choice in terms of, like, it's not the right time for them? She's already
Oh,
dumped him
look,
twice. Dawson has some justification for, like, I want her, but no, this is just not right, kind of thing.
I actually really do think Dawson's made the right decision
Okay.
there. Um, I wouldn't have liked to see that happen at this emotional moment in the show. Like
Yes.
a season ago, sure, you'd have been all
Yeah.
for this,
Yes.
it'd have been great, but not now. And again, I think it's a disservice to Joey to just have her
Yes, to have her reduce
immediately
herself
go into
that
that.
way. Yes, because she had seen Dawson with this really pretty hot sexual girl. And
Yeah,
then it does feel like that's the only reason she's doing it. In the heat of the moment when he does reject her, she says that's not why she's doing it. She's not, coming on to him to try to get him back in that way, but it very much feels like that is what she's doing
it
because of
really does.
insecurities. So, yeah, I think it was the right move, like, for Dawson to very much be like, it's just not right for us. And then him admitting that yes, he wanted her and she was so beautiful and perfect in front of him. But I mean, do you like how he did it? Do you think he approached it well in the moment, or do you think it was kind of insensitive how he did it?
I mean, he's always a little bit insensitive, isn't he? I think in these first 2 episodes, obviously, and I suppose specifically in this episode when we see him coming back from Philadelphia, we see him meeting this Eve girl.
Yes, he's on this
Um,
bus, and this
yeah,
beautiful woman just kind of appears next to him, and they have this kind of a bit of a meet cute. And she's very
I
flirtatious with him, and Dawson just doesn't know what to think, and then she vanishes. So
considering he comes off of the last season, and I know I keep comparing it to the
yeah,
end of the last season. I just think that's natural. That's how it's a story progression
yeah,
in my head. Coming off of that last season, for some reason, Dawson didn't come across as his typical annoying self in these 2 episodes, in this first episode of this season, considering what had just happened at the end of the last season. I wanted to hate Dawson for at least half a season.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, I'm like sensing reason within him, even in this first episode. Like him with Eve makes sense to me. The mentalities around that,
yeah.
the character mentalities around that, sorry, make sense to me. And I'm sat there thinking, well, I mean, it's fair enough of Dawson. He has moved on from the Joey situation. I didn't think he would be able to move on from the Joey situation, but he actually has. Okay, he's sticking to his guns.
Yeah,
He's done what he considered was the right thing, even though nobody else thought it was.
yeah.
And at least he's actually sticking to his principle. So fair enough. That was
Well,
my
yeah,
entire
because
thought about Dawson in this episode. And I didn't like that was my thought about Dawson in this
okay.
episode, because I just don't think it should have been.
Yeah, because it was a really interesting conversation he has with Pacey where he also thinks he's owed an apology from Joey for how she handled
Yeah,
the
which is
situation.
is not the case at
Yeah,
all.
yes.
It
Yeah,
really
I didn't
isn't.
like that.
So I guess I kind of that was more what I was expecting to kind of happen, him
Okay.
being self-righteous and everything like that. But Eve comes in and kind of softens the whole thing
Yeah.
in my mind, at least, because she gives him a reason and an opportunity to actually move on, which is right for him, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Even though she's, yes, very mysterious and kind of comes out of nowhere and a little bit confusing as to why she's even there. But
Yeah. And
is she even her own character or some sort of hallucination
just kind
he's
of
come to?
siren character that kind of pops in
Yeah,
to kind of loosen up Dawson a little bit because I think they're trying to do, this new season, new Dawson. We can't have this same kind of rigid, stick in the mud character. So
they
I think
very much are
she's
trying to do that.
definitely there to loosen him up and kind of make him more risque and make him more of a teenager because he,
Yeah,
really doesn't take those chances. So I think they felt like this is how we do that, bringing in this kind of sexy character to bring that out in him, which I think is interesting.
it is interesting.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, yeah, it doesn't provoke any necessarily strong reaction. It just makes
yeah,
me think that's that's where his mentality should be, and I just don't like that the 2 episodes, I suppose, kind of devolve back into Dawson and Joey a little bit.
yes, it would have been nice to kind of see that space because I mean, ultimately, that's why Joey broke up with Dawson in the first place, and then she never really
Right.
stuck to that. So the fact that she kind of immediately is ready, which it feels immediate, kind of goes back into like I wanna be with him. But then you do kind of get the point by the end that she's really kind of only wanting that because of, a bit of possessive jealousy type feelings, which we know she's capable of because of, the whole thing with Jen.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely. But
again, it's
also
things like that that I talk about that
remember what he did.
are what's that?
Remember what he did.
Yes. And we don't really we kind of gloss over that. Um, but yeah, it's the good thing that I think the show does that I mention all the time is that they kind of take nuggets of things with characters that they've established with them episodes prior, seasons prior, so that it informs kind of how they act towards something. So obviously I think there were some kind of iffy things in terms of character choices, but things like that, the fact that like, you know we've seen her have this possessive feeling towards Dawson that kind of makes her act a
Yeah.
bit irrational. So, her having and I think they even kind of make a bit of a joke about it when she's talking to Bessie about the situation. Like, Bessie kind of says, "I seem to recall the last time a blonde kind of came in, and who
Yeah.
won that situation." So I like that, it informs that her kind of coming on to Dawson in this way, kind of forgetting everything and wanting to be with him again is maybe not coming from a place, I think I've seen it enough that I can kind of maybe fill my own mental gaps and make it work for myself where I don't think it works maybe on a first time watch is that, it's her kind of just playing into those possessive feelings for this person as
Yeah, I
opposed
get that.
to her abandoning feelings that were very strong at the end of the last season.
I certainly think needed that explanation to see that other viewpoint
Yeah.
that you've just given, because I was just not thinking that at
Yeah.
all,
And
to
I
be
and
honest with
and I wouldn't expect you to, but because I've seen it so many times, because that's kind of how my brain works anyway. If something I love kind of maybe doesn't work the way that I want it to or like it to, and it does kind of leave room for interpretation, I can kind of pull things and make it kind of mold it to how I want it to be. And
you.
especially
Yeah,
since we do get that line where, she, recalls competition with another blonde kind of driving her.
yeah,
And we saw kind of how irrational and kind of petulant she was being in moments where Dawson was really kind of all over Jen and she was kind of jealous and not
yeah,
explaining why she, so I go back to that and know that this character is capable of that. So it would make sense for her to kind of retreat into those feelings when she kind of feels a bit threatened because Dawson is always kind of just this thing that's always going to be there and no one else is going to touch him.
I
But
mean,
when
don't get me
somebody
wrong,
does,
I'm
it's
not.
unexpected and she kind of just reverts back to that kind of feeling.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, like, what I wanted to happen didn't happen, therefore I'm not happy and I hate
No, I
everything,
totally get
and
what you're
I'm never
saying.
doing
You
it
just
all that.
expected and you thought it would be kind of a good thing for the characters to kind of have that
Yeah,
separation. It would have been interesting to see these characters maybe not so linked up for a while and see kind of where that takes them in separate directions because that's kind of what they even felt like they were setting up when Joey dumped him in the first place and they didn't
it
really commit
really
to
did.
that.
It
So,
it it
no,
really, really did.
I'm totally reading you that you're not hating it. You're just kind of were expecting it because you thought it would be
I'm just
something more
confused.
interesting for the characters. Yes, and I
Yeah.
totally could get that feeling on a first watch. But we do have so many other things
We
happening in
we
this
we we
episode.
do. I did
So,
want to I did want to mention the fact that I like that Kerr Smith and Meredith Monroe get their own little part
like,
in the
yes, they're
title
part of
sequence
the
now.
intro now, which is great. Um, and so yeah, we get to see kind of this little unit, kind of this working clock routine between Jack and Jen now living together with Grams, and Grams has
Yeah.
this cute moment seeing them kind of, work together to get their breakfast going, and she kind of is just standing back watching them and saying, "So how long have you two been married?" So it's really cute that they found this really groove and friendship together. So that was nice to see.
Jack's
And
becoming quickly the most kind of sensible, easy to like character in the whole show, even
yes.
more so than Pacey, oddly, because Pacey is chaotic at times, even though we obviously
Well,
really like him.
yes, this
He
episode,
can
I
be
mean,
chaotic.
bouncing to
Jack
Pacey, we're
isn't.
it, no, he's becoming far more steady, I think. But Pacey, I think because Andy is not there, he is also, like Joey, reverting back to kind of old ways. He
Yeah.
also is reverting back to old ways. So Dawson gets in this situation where, Pacey is kind of telling him, hey, your father's at this coaching conference because Mitch has gotten the job, as I read in the synopsis, as the varsity coach for the football team. And
Yes,
so he's going
which
to some
is
coach.
strange, but okay.
Yes. Well, I mean, look at Mitch. He looks like
I
a
mean, it's not
football
strange, to
player.
be fair. He does look like a
Like,
football
yes,
player.
exactly. And he talks about how he played in high school and all of that, and it's like this whole kind of thing that he's going to turn this team around because they have been this losingest team
Yeah.
for ages. So it's like his goal to turn this around. So we're giving Mitch a little plot thing. So that's what I
I
loved.
like that.
I loved last season getting these peppered in moments with Mitch and Gail and getting to see the adults kind of their storylines because the actors are so good. You're interested and invested in those, and I think
Yeah.
I'm more invested in them now as an adult than I was watching it as a teen. So that's kind of a new, fresh thing for me watching it now, which I like.
Yeah.
So
I
like that.
like the fact that Mitch has got his own thing going on.
Yes, and we're going to be
I
kind
do.
of following that throughout the
Yeah.
season, which I like these little check-ins because I love Mitch. Um, so he's going to a coaching conference. Dawson's left alone. Pacey kind of like, oh, Mitch, you're not going to give him some big speech to like behave himself. And we're operating on boring Dawson. We don't need to worry about
Yeah.
him. Neither does Mitch. And so his kind of only warning is like, don't let Pacey in the house. And so yes, without Andy, Pacey's kind of reverting back to his little kind of troublemaker ways. So Eve kind of just pops up. Dawson hadn't seen her since the bus. He told Pacey about her, said he doesn't even know if she's real. Did he dream her? Because he fell asleep on the bus, and then when he woke up, she was gone. So here she is in his house. So he doesn't know what to do. And Pacey kind of eggs him on. Well, why don't you, take out your father's boat and impress her on the boat and this whole kind of thing. So, cut to Joey. Ice house is burned down. She's gotten this job, gassing up boats at this dock, and her boss is this really pervy, gross guy.
Yes.
So Dawson's out on the boat with Eve. They're having a good time. She's all flirty on him. And she starts going down while he's driving the boat. And we cut to Dawson has crashed into the dock. And it's the dock where Joey works. So she sees what happened. He pops up. Eve pops up. And Joey is just very kind of disappointed. Because this is kind of like the first real interaction.
Yeah. And this is what I wanted. I love this first shot almost of Joey scathingly looking at Dawson.
Yeah, so disappointed. Yeah.
Perfect. Give me more of it. And then it didn't give me more of it, which we've obviously talked about to death already, but that's
Yes. And so now, adding up all of the damages, it's about $3,000 Dawson needs to fix the dock and the boat and all these things. So Pacey has this brilliant idea because Eve comes over with a bunch of tips because he runs into her at a strip club. That's what happens.
Yes.
Because I think Joey is kind of looming around, and Dawson's like, I can't do it. I can't see her. Pacey, get me out of here. Somewhere she'll never find me. And Pacey takes him to the strip club, and this is where they see Eve again. So after all this happens, Eve brings over tips from the strippers saying, hey, I told them about your story. They wanted to help. Pacey gets this brilliant idea. Well, maybe they can also help with, donating their time and their talents. And we can have a little strip show at your house while your dad's away and make the money back this way. He puts on his glasses. They play a little, risky business-esque piano trill. And it's this whole kind of silly moment. So yes, Dawson ends up having this party with all the strippers, all these people paying to come in. Dawson's just like, it's very much playing on Dawson's kind of naivete. So he's just like, I can't do this. So he goes and hides in his room. And this is where Joey is waiting for him. And, she's built up these insecurities of seeing him with this girl and being very sexual with another girl. And so that kind of plays on her. And that's when she decides to, come on to Dawson. She takes her shirt off in front of him, telling him that she can be sexual and all of these things. And Dawson ultimately hands her back her shirt, tells her we can't do this, it's just not right. And she obviously is very hurt and offended and feeling rejected. And
Which I get, but
yes, and she kind
have
of
some
says, "So
self-respect,
you"
boy.
yes, exactly, and so she's kind of like, "You love me, but you don't want me." And then for Dawson to not say anything and let her walk out the window, also not the best way to handle that situation when she literally says, "You don't want me," and he doesn't say anything, like, it's almost confirmation for her. So, she's just super embarrassed. So, yeah, really tough situation. And then he goes and tells Pacey, "Hey, I want to." She was so beautiful, and yes, I wanted her, but it's just not right for us. Like we just can't be together right now. So can you be there for her? Can you just make sure she's okay? Because I can't do that for her right now. So he asked Pacey to kind of go and look out for her. And so it ends up being a really nice moment for them, and it's kind of
Yeah,
opening them up to be friends this
yeah,
this year. So yeah, he kind of rides by her dock and she's crying and she's like so annoyed to see him. He's the last person she wants to see. She knows that Dawson told him everything and she's just kind of embarrassed. But Pacey really handles the situation well as he does. He's far more sensitive than, I think people give him credit for, especially now after having been with Andy. And he just,
yeah. I think he's good at kind of putting people at ease.
yes, and so they do have a bit of a joking thing, but he ultimately sits with her, puts his arm around her, and kinda has a nice moment with her, and gets to be there for her where Dawson can't. So, I love
Yeah,
kinda seeing these 2 open up this friendship, and relationship. She, ultimately will end up going with him, to get Andy in the next episode, so we're kind of building
yes,
on that, which is really nice. So, yes, and we do introduce this new Principal Green, so we're getting some black people on the show.
oh
And
yes, we
Mr.
are.
Green, they're trying to kind of give him a bit of a storyline because that will build to something with the character. So they're
Okay,
integrating him pretty well. Uh, so he's going to be someone, he's there kind of purposefully. It's not just kind of this passing thing. They're going to have him kind of be
okay,
involved with our kind of lead characters and prove to be this really kind of good figure in the school for a little bit. So, yes, it's not kind of an out of nowhere thing. It's a character that's going to kind of be a bit meaningful for a bit on the show. So just kind of look out for that. So, yeah, black people on Dawson's Creek, very exciting.
very exciting. Don't see it too often, do we?
Yes, and he does get some fun little shining moments in terms of like calling out Pacey and really kind
Okay.
of being
Oh yeah, he
invested.
does at the in the
Yes, and being
assembly.
very yes, and being very invested with Mitch in terms of getting the football team back on track and that kind of thing. Um and yeah, then Jen kind of has this whole situation. I don't know if that's kind of more, I think that's probably more explored in the next episode, but um
Well, yeah, we can use it as a bridge. I think we can use it as a nice bridge.
yes, we have kind of our head cheerleader who's this bitch and she's terrible to everybody and there's sign up for tryouts. So she decides she's going to sign up because,
Mm.
screw it. Um and she ultimately
She goes
gets
up
a
there and she makes a political statement rather than actually doing any
yeah,
cheerleading.
she ultimately kind of puts down kind of the life that this cheerleader who thinks she's better than everyone is going to have. You're probably going to be, on all these drugs, and your husband's going to be cheating on you with your daughter's best friend from college, and you know your liposuction isn't going to take, and all these kinds of like barbs of what
Yeah,
her future looks like as somebody like her. And she
boring
basically kind of does
suburban life
yes,
kind of
yes.
life.
She's just yeah, so she's giving her this, like, great verbal takedown in front of quite a bit of the school. And, yeah, that ends up kind of being a bit admired, and, uh we kind of build up to it in a kind of funny way. She's like freaking out, and Jack is like, "What? Did you get in trouble for what you said? Like, what's going on?" And she's like, No, the opposite. They all kind of like formed this mutiny against the evil
Yeah,
captain girl, and they've made Jen their captain." So now Jen is like,
which is the worst decision ever.
Yes,
Not in
'cause
terms of leadership, because I think she can do that, but in terms of any sort of enthusiasm for a certain role whatsoever, Jen
yes,
probably has the least enthusiasm to do that out of
yes,
literally anyone.
and, like, even her cheers are very kind of realistic, like, they're very much kind of grounded in reality as
They
opposed to kind
are.
of being exaggerated like hype. Yeah, so, like, even if we lose, it's okay, kind of like cheers, like
When we lose, it's okay
yeah, it's
because we
not a
lose
big deal.
every day, every game.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of what she's bringing. So it's a really kind of interesting, like, turn for Jen, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm liking this is interesting where this is going. So
It is.
yeah.
We see it more in the next episode, and it gets a very strange reaction when more and more people do see her act as head cheerleader. And I
Yeah.
suppose, is it about time to get into this next episode now, or is there anything else
Yes. Yes.
from the first? I don't think there is. Episode 2 of season 3 is called Homecoming.
Yes. All
Is
right.
centered around a pep rally
Pep
kind of
rally.
thing that obviously is not the sort of thing that exists in Britain and has consistently been something I've been familiar with only through
For through
US television
American teen
and
shows.
movies.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but it isn't just Jen that has a strange new role within the school, is it?
Yes. Yes. Very interesting. So, Homecoming, episode 302, all the right moves.
Okay then.
Dawson is recruited by his dad and Principal Green to produce a film for the football pep rally, but the stars of the film end up being Dawson and his lady friend Eve, not the Cape Side Minutemen. Meanwhile, Pacey has enlisted Joey for assistance in bringing Andy back to Cape Side, but their long awaited reunion doesn't go exactly as Pacey had intended. And Jack comes to an unexpected understanding with his father, who has returned to Cape Side to be with Jack and Andy.
Yes. Number one point, the Cape Side Minutemen is exactly the kind of stupid name that people give sports teams in the US, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
How they come up with some of these things, I really do not know.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, one of my favorite ones is one of the Mets minor league affiliates, which is the Binghamton Rumble Ponies.
What? What is that?
Come on. I mean, what is that?
Okay,
It
interesting.
doesn't
Yes.
even make sense.
Yes.
It doesn't make
Um
sense. But the Cape Side Minutemen. What's a Minuteman? I
he's
don't
like
know. Do you
he's like
know?
yes, he's like like a soldier. Um
Is it? Oh, is it some sort of revolutionary thing?
yes, yes, a
Oh, I
revolutionary
see.
soldier
Okay.
because and you see the kind of logo of it in
Yeah.
the studying episode when they all fall asleep on that icon and it's like the Minuteman with the like
Okay.
almost Captain Crunch kind of hat.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I've honestly never heard. I thought I was
Yeah.
in tune with US history. Clearly,
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
not
like,
that
I'm
much
surprised you yeah, so I
if
don't
I've
know
never
why
heard
they're
of the
called
Minuteman.
Minutemen, you I couldn't tell you, but it's some type of revolutionary soldier, yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Number 2 point.
yeah.
Jack's apparently good at football.
Yes. Because like, he's walking with Jen on the field, and the ball keeps kind of flying in his direction, and he's catching it and throwing it, and he keeps catching it. And so Mitch is kind of watching him. And we also get this new character, Henry, who is a freshman
Yes.
who wants to be the quarterback, I guess.
Yes,
Um,
incredibly over enthusiastic. I would be
yes, and
doing
he keeps
exactly what Mitch is doing at this point and
yes,
just
and he
powering him off and telling him to shut up and
yes, he
sit
keeps
down.
telling him like, "Coach, put me in. I want to play." Da, 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 da. And Mitch is like, very much no. You're second string. You'll go in if somebody gets injured, kind of thing. And then somebody does get injured. He goes in, and they need someone to catch the ball. And so they call in Jack because they've kind of been watching him all day. And Mitch is kind of like, oh, you know, and Henry's been watching him all day. So they kind of tag team up. Henry throws the ball, Jack catches it every time, and then they do this kind of like actiony montage with it. And Jack's looking pretty good. So Jack
good wide receiver.
Yes. So Jack ends up being the wide receiver for the Minutemen, and Henry gets on the team as well. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. So it's kind of the line that was in the trailer that I always remember, where we do ultimately bring Andy back. She wants to go to this pep rally. She's there.
Yeah.
She sees Jen as the head cheerleader. She sees Jack as a football player, and she's like, what is going on? You know, I got sane and everyone else went crazy. So yeah,
it's like that's pretty much what it feels like, to be honest, Andy. But did you really get sane? Because don't you do something absolutely awful in this particular episode? I want to definitely get into that next. But I like the conversation Jack has with his dad as well.
Yes. So the dad does come back, and you know, Jack is like immediate, like, okay, so when can we move my stuff back in the house? And the dad is very much like, I don't know. I think you should stay here. You have a good thing going. They can support you. They're gonna understand what you're going through. Because the dad is already
true.
Yes, the dad is already setting himself up like, things were so bad. I don't see them getting any better. You're not going to change. I'm not going to change. So maybe you're just better off here where we can't just antagonize each other, kind of thing. So you can feel like it's coming from a place of him just not wanting to stir the pot with Jack anymore. He wants things to be okay with Jack.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know if he can do that if they're living together. So it's not coming from a place of like, I don't want you. I'm still prejudiced against you because of what you're going through. It's more him I think I still don't fully understand it. And so I think it's best if you are with people who understand it, because I don't want to, cause you more strife, kind of thing. And you feel that.
Yeah.
So, but Jack is feeling like rejected. He's reading it completely differently, that his dad is still rejecting him.
He is, and you understand that as well. I think it's possibly the most reasonable thing Mr. McPhee's ever said.
Yes. And even like, you could kind of read the conversation he has at first as this negative thing as well. Like, because I couldn't remember how this conversation went. So, when he's in this pep rally and they're announcing him as the wide receiver, he's there and he shows up and he says, oh, Graham's called me and told me to come down here and that I should see what's going on. And when I saw you in that jersey, I finally saw myself in you. So I was like, oh, where is he going with this? Like, oh, he thinks because Jack's playing football, like his gay problem is gone. He's straight now because he's playing football, and that's a manly thing. Like, I thought, oh my gosh, is this where he's going with this?
It did definitely feel like a little bit of that. It definitely
yes.
Did.
But it ultimately kind of turned around and was like, it was great seeing you up there. I'm really proud of you. I want you to come home. So he does ultimately ask him to come home.
Yeah.
And Jack has kind of had that time to sit and think on it and says, no, I think I'm going to stay with Grams and Jen. But ask, and the dad even says, well, I knew you would probably say no, but I had to ask.
Yeah.
And so, when Jack ultimately does say no, he does kind of call out to his dad and say, but try asking me again sometime.
Yeah,
so,
which is the right.
Yeah, so we're building this really nice bridge with these characters, which I think it's nice to see, because he was kind of
becoming sensible. Jack is not going through an identity crisis like he was halfway through last season, obviously. Yeah. But I think he went through it a little bit of being like, oh yeah, gay guy on the football team, that's not going to cause any problems whatsoever.
Yes, well, we were talking about Dawson.
we were.
And his up and downs of like being likable and then doing some bullshit. So yeah, Dawson's gonna do some bullshit that's not gonna be great for Jack coming up. So just be prepared.
Look, the point is, in Jack's mind, I
Yeah.
think he is now in a very, very secure place.
Yes, he's
Of
got
yes,
a
I am a gay football player now. Yes, I am
and
happy
what?
living with
Yeah,
Jen and Grams now.
yeah,
Yes, I might have a closer relationship with my father in the future. Hopefully, I suppose. Fine.
yes.
I like it. I
Yes,
like
Jack's in
Jack
a good
anyway.
place. And I don't know if you noticed a little bit of Henry crushing on Jen. So
Oh, very
that's
much so, yes, because he
yes, and kind
falls
of
over
falling
her
all over himself.
pom-pom,
Yes, so that will be something to kind of keep your eye on.
which
Um,
Jen with a pom-pom is just odd anyway.
yes, yes. So now we kind of move on to Pacey. He's so excited.
Oh, yes.
Can't wait. He's picking he asked talked to her dad and he says, "Yes, you can be the one to pick her up." She's supposed to be out the next day, but he's going to try to go and get her out early cuz he just cannot wait. So I think Dawson offers to go with him because he sees how nervous and excited he is. And he's like, "Well, actually, I know I'm going with Joey. She's coming with me." So cool.
So
So
you're
him
definitely not coming.
exactly. So, you're gonna stay here with Eve, and then it's like a whole thing with Eve keeps popping up because I think Dawson
Yeah.
and him are talking in the hall, and then Pacey turns around and Dawson's gone. Eve has pulled him into a janitor's closet, and they're totally like making out, and it's a whole thing where she offered him like to hook up, and she'll name the time and place. He just needs to be prepared, and so we get this very kind of comical scene of Dawson trying to buy condoms, and all these people
Being
coming up and giving him all these suggestions of condoms. And it's
You know, the
hilarious.
worst thing you could possibly do, and I understand he's how old?
16.
16.
Yes.
Which isn't the age of consent in the US, but okay. Whatever.
I guess if they're
I
both,
guess you can.
I don't know, but we don't know how old Eve is because they don't.
Well, we don't know how old Eve is, and can 16-year-olds go and buy? I suppose it's better than them not being allowed to go and buy
Y-
condoms
Yes. So yeah, I don't know at that time
in the US.
what the rules were with that because I mean they were at this time they were giving out condoms at school in like sex ed class. So
At school, this was at school.
yes, well, not I don't
Mm.
remember that happening at my school, but schools in movies, and I
Mm.
think other schools that I have heard of, their sex ed classes would have condoms available for them. So,
It always gets a little bit funny with me, and the kind of not last year high school,
yeah,
not senior year high school kind of sex storylines in movies and shows
yeah,
in the US, because
yeah,
if there's two 16-year-olds, like, okay, I understand this happens, but
yeah.
that is actually underage from both parties, and you're depicting it in a show.
Yes, yes, and
Okay,
on top of that, we don't know how old Eve is, so it's very much
we
like,
don't know how old Eve is, and but I'm obviously far less bothered about that sort of stuff in Britain, because
yeah,
Britain, the age of consent is 16. It's brought down that little bit,
yeah.
so I can see, these whenever there's 17-year-olds, I know what 17-year-olds are like, and then it's just treated as you are an adult in that realm of life.
Yes, of life. Yeah.
So you're able to be a lot more open. This ridiculous scene of buying condoms is absolutely nonsense.
Yes, he's at the checkout and he's kind of like acting like, "Oh, okay, what else do I need? I think I got this and this and that." And then condoms. And he's like low under his breath.
Buy some
And then
condoms.
so then
But
of
the
course
last thing you want to do is go like that. Just ask the person behind the counter what you
yes.
need.
And then of course he gets on the mic and like says it all loud and this whole kind of thing. Uh
As he should have done. I agree with that man.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of a thing because I think we're coming out of the 80s and the AIDS, epidemic. And so 90s was all about safe sex. And so
Oh,
that's kind of
absolutely,
where
yes.
so
Everything
that
is
was
very,
where it was very prevalent condoms and having that
yeah.
in sex ed classes and things like that. So I saw a lot of depictions of that in sex ed classes, in
Yes, I can
movies
imagine.
and that kind of thing. And
Which
obviously
obviously is
in
still good.
Yes,
You
and
know?
obviously, and in the advertisements, advertise for teens, safe sex and those
Yeah.
kinds of things. A lot of commercials like that in the 90s, I remember. So yeah, I it would
Practice safe sex, but just don't do it in a cheesy 90s way.
exactly. So that was a thing. So I could see him being able to buy condoms at this age. But yeah, so he's prepared for that. Um and so yeah, that's what he's doing while Andy is going to be picked up by Pacey and Joey.
Yeah.
So they go to the facility where she's at, and the lady won't let him see her because she's not supposed to check out until the next day. She can sign herself out, and
Yeah.
that's the only way she's getting out early. But Pacey can't tell her that he's there for her to come down and sign out herself. So it's
Yeah.
this whole kind
Because
of thing.
visiting hours are over.
Exactly. So it's a whole kind of rigmarole. So he's pissed off. So Joey says, "Here, I got this." She grabs his hand. They go inside and she starts talking to the lady. "Hey, lady, I need help. I need to be in this facility. I've got problems. I need to see a doctor now." The lady's like, "I'm sorry. There's no one here who can see you." And she's like, "Okay, well, then you're just going to have to listen to me." So Joey like gets up on her desk and starts talking about her drug dealer dad and her mom with
Yeah.
cancer and being in love with the boy down the creek and all this thing. And the lady's actually like, she's like, the lady's like watching Dawson's Creek.
Well, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, so she's actually into it. And so then Pacey's able to kind of sneak by and go up to see Andy.
Yeah.
And what does he find when he gets to Andy's room?
Some other creepy looking dude.
She's very, kikiing, curled up on her bed, talking to this guy. Like they're very, very chum, chum, chum. And all of a sudden, Pacey's there. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Pacey." And she kind of introduces him to this Mark guy. And she seems very enthusiastic about Mark, but Pacey's all about her. And she's not even seeming to be as excited as she's not matching his energy in terms of like
No.
seeing him. And it's very much, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you here so early?" And this kind of thing. And then this kind of weird goodbye with Mark, him just being like, "Oh, we'll
Yes.
see you later," kind of thing.
Now, this
So
whole situation I would
it's
like
just
to
a
point out
weird vibe.
right
Yeah.
now. It's a
Okay.
weird vibe. This whole situation I would like to point out now. I knew exactly what was going on, and I hated every second of it.
Okay. So yes,
I could see it from a mile off as soon as Mark showed up in the entire show.
yes.
Because we
Okay.
know we know what happens. We're obviously going through the show. We
Yeah.
don't need to issue any sort of spoiler warnings or anything like that. It's plainly
Yeah.
obvious what we're doing.
Yes. And even like Joey,
When
she kind of pops in and she's looking in and seeing kind of the three of them standing there. And even from a
yeah,
distance, Joey kind of reads the weirdness in the
yeah,
situation. Yeah.
yeah. When it's obviously fully revealed what has transpired at the facility, where
Yeah.
that's a very cold word I've just used, isn't it? The facility where
Yeah.
Andy's been. I was not surprised given the characterization from the rest of the episode. I was just, again, I suppose, similar to how I felt with Joey last episode and Joey in this episode, I guess, as well, in terms of Dawson related feelings.
Yeah.
Supremely confused at how quickly a emotional mentality can shift from the end of one season to the beginning of the next season. Because
I mean,
how someone like Andy, I understand because she gives the explanation as to how I'm beating
yeah.
around the bush. What
Yeah.
happens ultimately? Andy has slept with this Mark guy
Yes. And Pacey
at
just
this
reads
facility
weird
where
things.
they've been.
Yes, and Pacey reads this weird feeling since they left the place. Like we see her in the car, she's being really quiet. As they're
Yeah,
driving off, we kind of look at her face, looking out the window, she's crying.
yeah.
Pacey
They
wants to be
never
alone with her.
Pacey and her never match
Yes,
energy like they have done the entirety of last season.
exactly. He wants to be alone with her. She constantly just wants to be around other people, like she's avoiding him. He reads that. And while they're at the pep rally, you know, he's like, "Let's go." She's like, "No, I want to stay. I want to stay. We'll be alone later. We'll hang out later." And he's like, "Come with me. We need to talk." And they go in
Yeah,
the hallway and she's explaining the whole thing. Mark was there for her. She could talk to him. He understood all of the fears that she had, because she had these really immense fears that whatever was wrong with her wasn't going to be fixed. He had his
Yeah.
own girlfriend. She just had all of these fears built up being there and getting better and all of these things. And she didn't have to explain them to Mark, because he already knew, because he had been through it. He'd been through in multiple facilities, constant problems. He had his own girlfriend that he was eager to get back to and all of this kind of thing. But because they got so close that he could understand exactly, to the level of what she was going through in terms of her mental health struggles, that was what connected them. And she ultimately slept with him. It only happened one time. They decided they weren't going to say anything, but,
As
obviously
soon as Andy saw Pacey again, it all came flooding back. I had to
yes,
tell the truth.
yeah.
And look, this, I understand Andy's. I'm obviously sympathetic towards Andy from a mental health point of view. I understand her explanation. I understand her emotional state. I understand her feelings on all this. And I suppose it's a weird way to say, like the fact she's so upset she did it when she sees Pacey again. I
Yes.
like the
Well,
fact she's so upset, because it makes the most sense for her to not come at this and, having done this, and be spiteful about it or anything like that.
yeah.
I just, again, I'm so confused that it happened at all. I'm so confused that it happened. I don't like that it happened. And I understand the explanation. I do. But the way you were going on at each other at the end of that second season, how you have been thinking about anybody other than Pacey for the entire time, I can't understand. Pacey has seemingly been thinking about nothing else other than
But her.
Andy.
Yes. And
And
what's
I
interesting.
thought that was so well balanced at the end of the second season
Yeah.
that it just, again, confused me a little bit. And
And
I
I
know
get
we
that.
get the explanation.
Yes. No, I
We do.
totally understand where you're coming from in terms of feeling kind of blindsided by that. Um, but and I do like how Joey kind of implores him, even if you don't get back together, whatever, at least just hear her out. So you can at
Yeah,
least make
yeah,
peace with that situation. You can maybe forgive her, and move forward, and at least just hear what she has to say. Don't just kind of leave it in this place. You love her enough that you can at least hear her out. So I like that Joey kind of gives him that advice. She's not telling him to get back with her. She's not telling him that she's right. She's telling him we're young, we're going to make mistakes. So at least just hear her out. So I like that
yeah.
Joey kind of is giving
It's
him
a
this
good
friendly
conversation.
advice. Yes, and I'm loving the friendship between the two of them that we're
Yeah,
seeing. Um
it's a really good conversation. It is actually probably the only time in the 2 episodes Joey makes any sort of sense
yeah.
whatsoever, which
And but
I like Joey making sense, so that was good.
yes. Um, and ultimately, like, they were kind of giving us these glimmers of Pacey feeling like a failure when it came to Andy, that his love
Yeah,
wasn't strong. And I love the thing he says. Like, I don't know if I can remember the quote exactly, but Andy was, when he does go and talk to her, she tells him, please don't break up with me. Let's please just stay together. Please don't break up with me. And he's like, you know, I don't know if I can come back to you knowing my love wasn't strong enough the first time.
yeah,
Uh, because when he started seeing that she saved him, and that she didn't know how powerful their love was, but he did.
yeah,
And because she didn't see how powerful it was, she couldn't, take that in and that be enough for her. And so if he were to take her back, yeah, it would be a struggle for him, because he didn't feel like his love was enough to
yeah.
help her the first time around. And so I love
And
the way he puts that together. I love the way he phrases this, and how he rationalizes his
yeah,
reasoning for not getting back with
makes
her.
total sense. I
Obviously it's the
really, really like
betrayal
that.
and everything else, but it's that deeper level of him feeling like a failure because his love
Yeah,
wasn't she didn't see his love being strong enough. Not just the betrayal. So I love that, like, he brings this nuance to his reasoning as to why it just like he just can't be with her
It
anymore
makes so much
after
sense.
this. Yeah.
I get the mentality entirely. I don't like it because
Yeah.
for
Even oh,
how many episodes of this show now have I been saying I like
I
these
love
two, they're
them. They're
so good.
so
I
great.
want it to carry on,
Oh,
and now
yeah.
like immediately it's just not going to. And I understand both mentalities. I'm understanding
Yeah.
Pacey more because I just feel
Obviously,
like it's
yes, the scorned one in the
deeply
situation.
confusing as to why. Yes,
Yes,
deeply
and
confusing as to why Andy would have done it in the first place. However, I like I I, I just appreciate Pacey's mentality of it. Of I can forgive you, but I can't
can't
forget it.
forget. And,
So
oh, when
I
she when
can't do it anymore.
yes, and when she takes his hand and he uses his other hand to remove her hand from his. Oh,
Yeah.
it was just so gutting. Um, yeah, and I love that line. I was gonna say that yeah, I can always forgive you, Andy, but I can never forget. And her just kind of
It's
being
a
left
horrible moment.
yes, very, very rough. So, um, again, this is in service to other things that you will see. So, stay tuned. But
It better be in service to other things because I don't like it at all, to be honest. And I don't like Andy having done something. Yeah, Andy's got enough problems. I don't like Andy having done something that she's brought on a problem for herself. I
self
almost
when
feel like
she's just
all
now
of Andy's
trying to
problems have been external problems coming at her and
yes,
things she can't control coming at her and
yes,
things like that. Her own emotional issues, her
yeah,
own mental health issues, and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff, which just paint her as so deeply sympathetic and somebody we can really like.
yeah,
Now she's actively done something wrong, and
yeah.
she's not going to be able to handle that. I don't know how the show handles that. I've not seen it,
We'll see.
obviously. I'm sure it
Yes, yes.
will. But for a character I like, it is a little bit of a gut punch for that to happen. And
Yes.
again,
I get that.
confusing to me that it happens one episode after that ridiculously emotional finale we got between the two of them. Or two
Yes.
episodes after, sorry.
Yes, and
Two
again,
episodes.
it's you not having that summer breathing time to kind of realize this character had all of these months away from him,
Yeah, it
finding
isn't.
someone that understood her on a different level than he did, and all of that kind of thing.
Like,
So,
sure, if we'd have got scenes of that happening, I think it all makes a little bit more sense. We don't like it, maybe, but it all makes a little bit more sense,
yeah,
and maybe we actually do come to like it.
yeah, yeah. So, yes, I totally get where you're feeling like this is just so jarring.
Yeah.
But obviously on multiple rewatches, like I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I get, it plays, like it makes sense. But I can see on a first time rewatch and like the last thing you saw were these really defined relationships and defined
Yeah.
characteristics and to see kind of all of that just shift so dramatically the next time you see them, I completely get you feeling a little rattled by that.
It was
Yeah.
it was what I thought you were talking about when you were telling me that the start of season 3 begins certain things that just aren't followed up with and that are a little bit confusing. I
Oh,
thought
yeah, no,
you
no.
were talking about all this
No.
when I was
N
watching it. I was like, Whoa, okay, where's this all come from? Is it some sort of weird 6 episode dream sequence?
no, I will say it is something with Eve. That is just,
Oh, it's something
like
with Eve. Okay.
yes, that is established, and then we just I don't as far as I remember, because 'cause I'm a little bit foggy on, like, the post-high school episodes. Um, I just don't know why, like, I don't recall those as well as I do, like, the high school
Okay.
episodes. So, as far as I know, that's something that really never comes to fruition in any kind of real significant way with that character. So that's what I was talking about. So you'll see
Okay.
what I mean down the line. But yes, so really, really big gut punch for Pacey and Andy in that relationship. So really interesting to see kind of where they go, how they navigate,
Yeah.
maybe trying to be friends. you know, how this is going to play into Andy's, you know, health journey and that kind of
Yeah.
situation. So yes, really kind of weird thing happens there. And then yeah, Dawson and Eve. So he's been tasked to make this film about the Minutemen to for the pep rally to get, you know, everyone kind of excited about this team and this big comeback they're supposed to make. And he's behind the screen, you know, watching the video he made as it plays. The screen is down, everyone's watching the video in the gymnasium or whatever. And this is when Eve, she said she was going to pick the time and the place for them to hook up, and this is the time and place she chooses.
Yes.
So they
Behind the screen.
Yes. So Dawson is sitting on like the controls of the screen. They're making out, her shirt's off, his shirt's coming off,
I don't know
and
why he doesn't just sit on the floor, but okay.
right? And, you know, he's sitting on the controls and they're kind of making out, the controls kind of lift the screen and everyone sees him and Eve like going at it. And who sees it again? Just a shameful moment where Joey has to sit and see this.
Yeah.
And, you know, before he spots Joey in the crowd, everyone's cheering, everyone's laughing. The band's like playing music for them. They're giving bows and just making a joke of it and laughing it off. Eve kind of disappears. Dawson's on the stage just having a good laugh. And then he spots Joey with the shameful look, same look
Yes.
she had at the gas pump thing at the dock. So
I'd be more worried about what Mitch is looking like, to be
well,
honest.
Mitch like was like, "What?" And then he kind of started laughing once it kind of became a comedic thing.
He
Mitch actually
did,
kind of
but thank
yeah.
God it did become a comedic thing, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's serious school scandal. It's in all the papers.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, not a great situation for the two of them. So Eve is kind of like, "Hey, we can, you know, finish this later." And Dawson's like, "No, I think I'm gonna ride home with my dad." Because the same kind of
Yeah.
similar thing even happened at the end of the last episode where um Eve has a boat and she wants to take Dawson out and leave the
Yeah.
party, leave the stripper party. And his dad shows up, comes back home looking for him, you know, shows up and sees all this chaos happening at his house. And he's like, "I can't leave it like this. I trashed his house, I trashed his boat. I can't go." So, you know, moral Dawson wins out. He doesn't go with Eve. And same thing here. You know,
Moral
Eve's like,
Dawson.
"Let's start where we left off." He's like, "No, I'm going to go home with my dad." They go home and he sees Joey sitting on his dock. He
Yeah.
goes, he sits with Joey, and this is where they kind of have this reconciling conversation. And, you know,
Shouldn't be
she's just like,
reconciling. Hate him,
yes, right?
Joey.
So this, I mean, even for me, who was kind of trying to kind of, you know, make sense of this a little bit for you, I didn't get how they got here so quickly either.
Or
Like,
how she can be so utterly forgiving of him
yes,
already. It just doesn't
yes,
make sense.
and
And I
yes,
know it's
even
not already, because it's been 2.5
exactly.
months,
And I'm
whatever,
and
3
I've been
months.
explaining it to you and kind of trying to give you that perspective of summertime, long time thinking about blah blah blah, old feelings, da 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 da, who he means to her, who he's meant to her, blah 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 blah. I've been trying to give you all of this to kind of help ease you into this new dynamic. But even I'm like, he rejected you. He put you in this position
Yeah.
to implicate your father, even if summertime healing, the last kind of situation you had with him was him rejecting you, and then you have to watch him try to fuck another girl in the front of the school.
Right, in front of
So
the entire school.
exactly.
I
And
like
what is your feeling? To go sit on his dock and wait for him. Like,
and weep. Like, stop it,
so
Joey.
yes. So yes,
Get a grip of yourself, Joey.
even I was very much like, okay, sure, maybe they can be civil, but to have this little sweet moment felt a little
Yeah.
too much too soon
I
for
was just
me
thinking,
even.
Joey has the strength within herself. Joey is a
She's proven
fiery
that.
person.
Yeah.
She is a resilient person.
Yeah.
So be resilient at this point. Stick to your guns, for God's sake.
Exactly. So she kind of says she's there because, you know, his home is like magnetic north. She kind of is just drawn to it. She would go
Stop being
there.
so poetic about it as well.
she would go there when he was away in the summer and just kind of sit on the dock or just sail by his house, whatever. And so basically what comes out of this conversation is that, this general coming together and realization that we are soulmates, but we just are not right for each other right now, kind of thing. So they
they're not right for each other at all. I remember a season ago, I thought it was perfect. I did. I thought it was great. It all made sense to me.
Yes.
But it's just been proven time and time again that it isn't.
Yes. Because so they do come to this understanding that they are soulmates. They're just not right for each other in this moment right now. Well, for them in this moment right now.
Ever.
You can say ever, but in the context of these two characters and where they're kind of talking about it, they feel like it's just not right for them to be together. But they can still see themselves as soulmates, even if they're not together. And then we get a very famous line from the show. Hey, do you think every Joey has a Dawson and every Dawson has a Joey? And his response, I hope so, for their sake. And then he gives her his necklace that we've seen him wearing from day one. So yeah, I guess this is the establishment of friendship. We're not going to be together. We're not going to be romantic, but we're always going to have that love for each other because we literally have known each other all our lives, and we're not just going to give that up. We can be soulmates. We can see ourselves as soulmates, but we don't have to be together because it's just not working. So yeah.
Yes. Now, I'd like to finish with, on principle, that's a great thing. And I would have liked to have seen that at the end of the season.
Yes, this very much felt like an end of season 3 conversation. But I told you, there are things in motion and
too many things happening. Sometimes there just needs to be less things happen.
Yes, we need to tie this bow because something else is coming down the pipeline. So that's why that could not happen the way you see it. But this does feel like a very much end of season 3 conversation. I get what you're saying.
Could we not have delayed this upcoming thing until the season after, perhaps, to have this whole season be this nice, actual story of them not being remotely in each other's lives and then them coming back together? Does that not feel, because it's longer, it takes longer, does it not feel more impactful? And then we can go into what comes ultimately further along this season, next season, perhaps. Could we not have done that?
Well, once you
in theory, surely we could have done that. In theory, sure.
But once you see what is the brewing, you will understand why that is not what is going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, but can it not be delayed at all? I know it isn't. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm talking hypothetically.
I don't know that I can
delayed, and then the entire show just be like storyline be just delayed. Or not do some weird stuff that it ends up doing in season 5 or whatever. That I'm sure it does, because
yes, there's going to be some changes in terms of the interactions between these characters for sure. So yes, there's just something that is, this season is like the big crux of this season, to where that can't be. It's going to shake things up. It's going to just, yes, I don't think I can say any more without spoiling things for you, but yes, it can happen that way because of something very specific that they are doing these things in service to.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm in. I'm confused. I'm still in, but I'm just. I wish things were more drawn out.
Yes.
And I've said this
again, season has probably my all-time favorite episode. So,
okay, interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there we go.
We'll say that.
Discovering Dawson's Creek Season 3 has, of course, begun. Do subscribe, like we said before, to this channel. Ding your notification bell for all the other fun stuff we have here. Subscribe to the main It's a Wonderful podcast feed for the main show. It's a Wonderful podcast celebrating old movies, of course, every Friday. And Morgan Hasn't Seen movie version every Wednesday. On all major podcast platforms. Leave all your ratings, reviews, and all that fun stuff over there. Things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen all episode long as well. Social media, Patreon, donation, merch, all the fun stuff in the description. Check out everything we do here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. And Jeannine, I do think that means there is only one thing left to do. Give us.
3? Oh.
What do we give us? No. I want an impression, obviously.
Oh, there's only so many people, and it's not.
Pep rally. Pep rally Jen. Pep rally Jen.
3, 2, 1.
Very peppy, thank you, Jen. Bye. Yeah. Dawson.